It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You're knowing what you are wanting?
Yes.
Are you enjoying the evolution of your own desire? It is evolving, isn't it? Are you enjoying the expansion? Are you enjoying your variance with your desire? That's the big question. Are you enjoying it when a desire is hatched, it's clear to you, but you don't believe it? Do you enjoy that? Of course you don't. Do you like it when you chew on ground glass? It's pretty much the same, isn't it? Are you able to avoid chewing on ground glass? Mostly. Somebody offers you a big old bowl of it, you say, I'll pass. But if there's a little piece of it slipped in, hidden by other happy looking food, we've enjoyed this interaction immensely. Well, we're just playing with you a little bit because we know that you are wise enough to know that when you get hold of a thought that is really in opposition to your own desire, that it's not a good idea for you to foster it, which means it's not a good idea for you to continue to focus on it and poke at it and thrash about in it. And yet you do it all the time. Because as humans, and we mean that in a nice way, as humans, you are wanting to find a problem and find a solution to it. You want to find a need and fix it. You sort of want to fix things, and that orientation is not altogether astray from the intentions that you held when you were born or when you decided to come forth into this physical experience, because you certainly knew that there would be contrast. And you knew the value of it because you knew out of contrast, you as a leading edge creator, and that's who you are, that's why you're here. You knew you would be able to utilize the contrast to help you to focus into your clear intention or desires. And in fact, you knew that the contrast was necessary because without knowing what you don't want, you can't know what you do want, and other way around too. In other words, contrast is the basis of focusing, and focusing is the basis of creation. It's just that most people focus sort of irresponsibly. They focus with no personal footing or guidance. They've lost their footing. They don't realize that they're focusing on what's loudest or on what's biggest or sometimes on what's baddest rather than upon what is most desired. So we want to remind you of something that you intended with a lot of determination when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body. It was your intention to focus amongst contrast in order to come to personal conclusions about your personal desire, because then you knew unequivocally the power of your thought, the power of your non-resisted thought, the incredible power of a non-resisted thought. Oh, that's the thought that creates worlds. That non-resisted thought, that source energy thought, where no resistance is in the mix. But you also knew that you were not going to be able to, in your human body, always think unresisted thought, non-resisted thought. You knew that you would be thinking plenty of thoughts that were surrounded by resistance, because you knew then that you were coming into an environment of contrast for the purpose of taking thought beyond what it has ever been before, for the purpose of you in your individual awesomeness finding from your perspective what you most preferred, and you knew that you would be sifting it out of the contrast or the variety that exists in this leading edge, time and space, which allows you to focus. So you knew that you would experience some contrast, but you also knew that when you did, you would be aware that you are doing it. And that's where we come in, to remind you of your own guidance system that lets you know when you're about to chomp down on a little piece of glass in your food, In other words, you can, in a pre-manifestational way, have awareness of that, or you can wait until your mouth is bleeding. That's post-manifestational awareness. In other words, you can see it coming, you can sense it coming, or even better, not be one who's avoiding the ground glass, but one who is, and here it is, following the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance will not lead you to chomp down on that ground glass. The path of least resistance is the path that feels the best to you. But we have a sort of sales job that we have to do with you, because you are human and you've been focused upon the contrast. You've come in many ways to believe yourself as those who are supposed to suffer and struggle and sacrifice and bleed a little. It's the leading edge, friends. It's not the bleeding edge. It's the leading edge. It's the leading edge. You've come into this leading edge environment intending to find new awarenesses for you, new things that you desire, and new ways to find them. So this guidance system that you were born with is your emotional guidance system. And the reason that it works, the reason that it is, and the reason that it works is because you are source energy, first and foremost, in a physical body. Important. And the source energy part of you is the non-resistant part of you. The source energy part of you, we call that your inner being. Never, ever, 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 ever from your perspective, in other words, your sensitivity to it, would focus in a way that has resistance in it. So that means when you are in complete harmony with your inner being, you are, we've called you lots of different things, tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You're in your own power. You're under the influence. You're in a state of pure positive emotion, pure positive energy. You are in your power. You just don't stay there very long, and that's all right too, as long as you know that that vibrational place is there for you and that you can find it.
Okay, here's my question. Do we as humans have a predestined way or date of how we die?
Nope.
So it could just happen anytime?
Yep.
Any place?
We've talked about this non-physical part of you that was you before you came into this physical experience. And yes, you had all kinds of intentions coming in. So your vortex that we've been talking about, this vortex of deliberate creation, there was plenty there that you put there from your non-physical perspective. So then you get here and you continue to add to it. There are 2 points of attraction, really. You are really one. But the blending of your vibrations could be described as 2 points of attraction. In other words, there's your source energy, that's who you really are, and there's who you're being in any moment. And the emotions that you feel, whether it's anger or love or some other emotion, is all about how blended you are in that moment of emotion with your inner being. So as you are living your life, your intentions from non-physical are what you would call general by your physical standards. They're things like, I want to enjoy myself, and I want to be an uplifter, and I want to be uplifted. That's the enjoyment part. I want to be uplifted, and therefore I want to teach by the clarity of my example. I want to uplift. I want to expand. I want to experience more. I want to deliberately and consciously experience more. And so those are those general intentions. Then as you're living in your physical body, to the degree that you are asking and allowing, then you're constantly making new decisions as you move along. The reason that this question is tricky for human ears to hear is because even though you may have been listening to us and others for a while, talking about the eternal nature of your being and that there really is no death, still, most humans see death as an unwanted thing. And we want to ask you, do you see complete blending with who you are as unwanted? Do you feel a complete immersion into pure positive energy? Is that unwanted? We like it when you say, as Esther says on a regular basis, several more decades, please, because she is loving life here and now. She's allowing the wholeness of who she is to focus within her, and so she's experiencing this wonderful hands-on creative experience. But someone who innately knows the beauty and the power of their beingness, who is not allowing it, then maybe the path of least resistance is to reemerge into non-physical. It's like when you leave this room at the end of this gathering. So here we are together and we're having a very nice time. And when you leave, you will not stand at the doorways and look back and yearn to never leave this room. You'll be on to what's next and on to what's next and on to what's next. And that's really how the non-physical feels about you in these physical bodies. So that's just a sort of underpinning. Now, if you have more specifics, we're happy to address them. You define your time of death in two ways, just like everything else you do. Sometimes it's because you're ready to romp into the pureness of pure positive energy, and sometimes it's because you just can't stand any more resistance. And in either case, it's great.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.